True off my chest 1. I think my boyfriend intentionally got me pregnant. To be fully transparent, I'm 15 years old and I'm 17 weeks pregnant with my little boy. The father of my baby is my boyfriend M17, and we've been together for almost a year on Valentine's Day. But I known him since I was 10 platonically. Prior to me getting pregnant, we never fought, and since I gotten pregnant, go figure, civil war has practically broken out. Especially between our parents, my mum thinks my boyfriend brainwashed me and groomed me since we're kinda 3 years apart. But I'm telling y'all, he did not groom me. The feelings were mutual in our relationship, and it happened very organically. His parents are pissed with my mum because they don't like the narrative she's spreading, so it's just a whole mess, and it has caused fights between us. We recently got in a fight because he will be going off to boot camp for the military in March, and he was talking to me about what are the odds for my mom to sign off on me marrying him when I turn 16 next November. I told him they're extremely low because my mum wants to keep me home as long as she can. Plus, I already kinda asked her about it, and she sees me marrying him as her signing me up to have another baby. He gets really mad about it and told me that I let my mom dictate everything and that she's going to prevent him from being a father to this baby. Also that the goal is for us to get good benefits and get on base housing for us and the baby. That's when he started reiterating that it wasn't supposed to go like this, and it just ended very badly. I ended up FaceTiming my best friend, just crying, because I feel like everyone is just constantly mad at me and I was just overwhelmed. I opened up and told her about all the drama and recapped our fight. And that's when she told me she thinks he got me pregnant on purpose because he knew he was going off to the military and wanted to be able to string me along. I don't want to believe he would, that to me on purpose. I had a meltdown when the 3 test was positive, and he was there for that, and he seemed genuinely shocked too. But also he was the one that wanted us to stop using condoms, and he told me like he would pull out, and I trusted him to know what he was doing, because no shade. My boyfriend got around prior to us dating, so I trusted him to be a pro at that stuff. But I also should take accountability too, because I didn't really know much about sex to be like even doing it. And I should have did proper research on it. Like I knew how babies were made, but like the other stuff, not really. My first time was an actual shock and definitely a core memory. But my point is I trusted my boyfriend to know more than me, which I now know it's wrong. But do you guys actually think he planned this? True off my chest too. I created an OF because I haven't worked in 1.5 years. I'm someone that has worked for 15 years. I'm in my late 20s LOL. The past 1.5 years I haven't been able to get a job. I've even applied for positions that were below my expectations just to try to get something. I've been dragged on by companies with empty promises. I'm finally at a point where I don't have money left. OF has always been tempting because I've seen so many make tons of money. But I never wanted to show my body to the internet. I didn't want a digital footprint, and I just felt weird about it. I'm a conventionally attractive female, and so many people have told me for years to create one and monetize off my body and looks. I caved in last night and made an account, but now I feel weird about it. I haven't done anything or posted pictures, haven't tried to market myself or anything. But I just have to get out there, how I'm disappointed with myself, but don't know what else to do. True off my chest 3. I found the papers from the hospital visit I had as an infant and don't know how to feel. I grew up never really knowing much of my father as he passed when I was 5. I knew that he went to jail due to suspected child abuse to me, but later found out that he went before due to incidents with his first family. A family my mom never let me meet until I found them 2 years ago. And I only found out about the other jail stuff and abuse stuff due to my mom yelling it at me in a fight when I was 15. My mother had me grow up thinking that my dad just made a mistake, or that an accident happened and the judge was a POS of a man. Grew up believing it and crying for so many years of a dad I could hardly remember, due to him being in jail from me being for like 6 months until I was 4, other than a few memories before he got sick and passed. My mother never really talked about him or the incident that happened. I never knew the truth outside of a broken collarbone and something about a black eye. Different stories. My brother told me some small details of what he knew given his age. I guess I know more now. We're getting rid of a car that she's had since I was 5. She always kept important papers in there for whatever reason. Some of these being the honorable discharge he had from the Air Force and papers from the hospital when I was an infant. Went into more details of the black eye, bruised side of my face and broken collarbone. That my father said I somehow kicked myself in the face. But how does that explain the collarbone? How would I kick myself so hard in the face? It makes no sense. My older sister says that she thinks he didn't do anything, and now I have no idea what to do or say. True off my chest. My mom is going to prison, possibly for the rest of her life. She's 53 years old. Her crimes aren't even violent. It's just petty repeated drug charges. She was arrested about a week and a half ago. It's still too soon to know her sentencing, but she's facing 3 separate drug charges, and she got slapped with felon possession of a firearm, which wasn't hers but her boyfriend's, but it was in her home when they searched it. It doesn't help that she's been in twice already for felony drug charges. The last time she got 25 years, and she had been out on parole for about 3 years before she was arrested last week. 3 of her charges now, according to her lawyer, are 25 to life. Even if she got the lower end of that, she's still already 53 years old. I'm just, Sad, heartbroken, disgusted, more with the criminal justice system and Texas. Confused, hurting for her. She isn't a bad person. She just needs help. I'm hurting knowing that she is going to possibly die behind bars for this. I know she's hurting. I know when she made parole a few years ago, she really wanted to do better. I wish I knew what happened. Why she made the decision to go back to this. She needs a good lawyer, but I don't think that I can afford that. She's probably going to be stuck with a public defender who won't dedicate much time to her cases. I feel like I'm failing her in a sense. True off my chest. My dad almost cried in front of us when talking about the girl he almost married. My mum is my dad's first love, but she did not reciprocate my dad's approaches when they were in their early 20s. She was in medical school while dad was in the army, and apparently mom wasn't fond of army guys. Fast forward to when my dad reached the age of 26 and was eligible for marriage, he had found a girl who said yes. They spent a few months together, and my dad was keen on marrying her. But in the end, their parents did not agree to it. And I think there were some other issues that my dad did not tell us. But yeah, they did not get married in the end. Apparently my dad was so heartbroken that he decided he was never going to marry after that. But then I guess fate happened, and he ended up marrying my mom at the age of 33. But here's the catch. My mom to this day shows no active affection towards my dad. She has clinical depression and appears very cold and emotionless. I think it was a mistake on my dad's part to marry her. Yes, she's pretty, one of the prettiest women I know, but her depression has affected us all. She does not smile unless the situation requires her to, brings out the negative in every situation, shows no empathy or whatsoever. My dad, on the other hand, is a very extroverted, cheerful human, and whenever we meet his colleagues, we get the "your dad is a very good human" talk. It makes me sad because my mom doesn't try to help herself or anyone in the family. She acts like it's our fault that she's mentally ill while it was her family that let things get this bad. And worst part of all of this, her family did not even tell my dad's family that she has clinical depression. My dad found out about it when he noticed her taking meds and acting weird at times. The other day, he was driving me 19F home from university for the weekend, and he was talking about how marrying my mom was a mistake on his part. Yes, she is his first love, but marrying her cost him his career and everything around it. He said, "I wasn't always like this. I was also a cheerful guy like the other uncles, from the military, but your mum's behavior towards took a toll on me. Once you guys were born, I could never go back to focusing on my career because I was always afraid for you guys. I could not trust you with her, which is why I had to make my parents live with us. And then it all made sense to me as to why my dad still misses the girl he almost married. She wasn't a doctor like my mum or even as pretty, but she was kinder to him, and probably was not as emotionless and heartless." True off my chest. I left Islam because my cat ran off. As comedic as it sounds, it's a lot more complex. I was always silenced when I asked, why do we even read Quran in Arabic? Why not my country's first language or English, my native language? I was told by my religious teachers that even seemingly innocent things like un-Islamic music are haram. The same principle, in its most literal form, meant my national anthem wasn't permissible because it was about the language of our country, written by a Hindu man. Why should I not enjoy my language and my culture that my ancestors fought to protect and preserve? Why should some second-century Arabs dictate my life and my identity? I started reading history on how Islam even spread and why some people are Muslim and some are not. I started questioning the flaws in Islam. Whenever I questioned the contradictions in Islam's or demanded moral justification against things like Jew-killing Banu Qurayza incident, forced conversions, forced imposition of Arabic, usage of violence and military conquest to spread Islam, I never got a proper response from my adults. I was called a traitor and sinner for questioning Islam. I stopped asking about Islam to my adults and secretly started growing disillusionment. I then asked myself, there are thousands of religions. How do I know that I was born into the right one? What makes Hinduism or Buddhism any less valid than Islam? I started losing religiosity, but wasn't a full atheist like I am now. I would still identify as a Muslim, but was more agnostic. It wasn't a discrete, linear, or black and white process. My cat getting lost was the straw that broke the camel's back. I was super hurt and I would go out to look out for her in my neighborhood for 6 months, even on days I'm sick or it's rainy. I would pray every day for my cat to come back. She did not. I witnessed the absolute cruelty of God, and I knew such a force did not exist. How could a conscious being see his creation suffering so badly and not do a thing? That caused me to apostatize Islam at the age of 14 or 15. 2 years later, I find out it was my parents who dumped my cat somewhere far away. I was obviously hurt by this betrayal. I had lost my self-esteem. I thought I didn't have the worth or I was somehow a horrible pet owner that my cat left. I stopped talking to my parents and gave them the silent treatment for 2 months. One day hell bent loose and they physically abused me for hours at the age of 17. They dehumanized me. They said ill about my feelings. They ruined my self-worth. They treated me less than an animal. This just made me a stronger atheist because even if there's a God, I wasn't following the God they believed in. Being from a conservative Asian country with poor support system and unhealthy adherence to filial piety, I knew the authorities wouldn't be there to help me. I gave up my dignity and apologized, despite being treated like a punching bag, and created a facade. I am still behind this facade where I act normal with them, but once I'm independent, I'm out. Current status, I am a hardcore atheist that denies God. I do not believe, in fact I know it for a fact, that there is no God. I am personally a progressive liberal. I am very skeptic, I do thoroughly examine scientific claims, and I criticize data. I believe in evolution. I reject Noah's Ark, creationism, and most religious anecdotes. Edit, I kindly request that you stop criticizing me for blaming God, or suggesting that I didn't try hard enough to understand true Islam. What's done is done, and I am firm in my decision. Please understand that I'm not here to bash God or anyone's beliefs. I simply wanted a space to express my feelings, vent, and seek closure. I am not looking to discuss politics or revisit Islam, so I'd appreciate it if you refrain from pushing biased scholarship or attempting to reconvert me. However, I welcome respectful and diverse perspectives on the matter. Edit 2, I really appreciate the supportive comments here. You people are the true heroes, and each and every supportive comment meant the whole world to me. True off my chest. My dad came into my room without knocking and saw me naked. I'm 22, so I don't want to freak anyone out and think that I'm a minor or something. I'm just really irritated by this and also weirded out, mortified. My bedroom door frame is sort of lopsided, so the door doesn't really close all the way. I have a lock, but it doesn't line up properly, so it's pretty much just decorative. I've constantly asked my family to knock before coming in, but they don't. Usually I change in the bathroom because at least that door locks. I was changing in my room today because no one else was home and I figured it would be fine. But apparently my dad was home. He started to push the door open, so immediately I told him not to open it while I scrambled to grab my towel and wrap it around myself, and instead of listening to me and waiting, he opened the door all the way and proceeded to have an entire conversation with me while I tried to hide in the nook of my closet. So he couldn't see me because, like I said, I was literally naked. When I said that it bothered me that he just came in while I wasn't wearing any clothing and didn't seem to care that it made me uncomfortable, he laughed and said that I didn't have much for him to look at anyway. It made me feel insanely uncomfortable. I've been avoiding him all day. I really don't understand why no one in this house knows how to knock before opening a door. True off my chest. My girlfriend broke up with me. I've been with my girlfriend since last year, January. She has this habit of snooping around in my phone looking for stuff, even though I told her not to. I know how that may sound like, but I'm not and never have cheated on her. Fast forward, Oct 2024. I found out that when we started dating, she was still going around sleeping with her links, and that led to our breakup. During our breakup, I chatted with people I had broken contact with when I was still dating. We got back together in Nov 2024 and continued. Now when we got back together, I informed her that things wouldn't be the same because now I no longer trusted her. I went back to my Instagram and restricted the people I chatted to, so they couldn't talk to me since I got back with her. Moving on to today, to my surprise, I mistakenly left out one person still restricted, and she found out because I gave her my phone to watch reels since hers was off. Remember the snooping around? That's how she found out, by looking around my Instagram. If for what? Trust me. I don't know, but eventually she found out the contact. Now what she's saying is, she once asked me about this contact, and I once said I don't know it. I don't even remember her asking me about that, and she doesn't believe me. She left the house, took her stuff, and I believe she broke up with me like that. Now the weird part is when she left I felt liberated and free. I'm not sure whether it's because I hadn't trusted her yet, or another thing. Please give me some advice because I'm not sure what to do now. True off my chest. Wife made me fall in love with her again after 3 years of marriage. Posting this from throwaway account as my wife knows my real account. We got married 3 years ago. She loves taking care of me and helps me in everything every way she can. Don't know why she is really obsessed with me, but I am a very introverted person and don't like talking that much. She adapted herself to it, and I'm just realizing how lucky I am to have her in my life, as she just sacrificed so many things for me. Life was just going on normally for 3 years. I went to another city for a week to visit my brother. In afternoon, she video called me and we spoke for some time. Then after talking, I threw my phone in bed, which is messy and full of clothes, and just opened my laptop and started working. After nearly half an hour, I closed my laptop and tried to locate my phone, and then I saw that the video call was still on. I thought she ended the call after I said bye and threw the phone in bed. But when I threw the phone then just stuck in the blanket and was facing right at me directly. She waved at me after noticing I saw her too. She was eating snacks and looking at me. So she was just looking at me for almost half an hour. I asked her and she said yes, like that's the most normal thing. Then I said let's talk again later and disconnected the phone. I felt it was funny that time, but just now that I'm thinking it again, I feel like crying. She was just looking at me the whole time I was working. I just have this small pinching in my heart right now that just increased when I again think about her. It felt like the first time I was in love with her. I started falling in more love with her and can't stand a day without seeing her now. Planning to stay here for little more than, but nope, I'm leaving tomorrow for home to be with my wife. Thanks for reading. I wanted to share this to someone. True off my chest. I hate my wife's job. I hate my wife's job. Let me rephrase, I hate my wife's dedication to her job. Since the first year we got married, it has been apparent that my wife's top priority in her life is her job. Close second now that we have kids. It's what gets nearly all of her energy and mental focus. She gives 110% to work every week and leaves nothing for home. I honestly feel like she's dedicated to being married only because of the convenience it brings to have a second person to split adult things in a family life. For the record, I work too, and we earn about the same. I feel like I work considerably less and less intensely than she does to make the same amount of money. When I work from home, I can toss a load of laundry in the wash, maybe get dinner prep done ahead of time, clean some, etc., exercise, the benefits of working from home. If she works from home, she's glued to her chair and often doesn't even use the bathroom until the end of the day. The benefits of working from home for her, in her own words, is that without a commute, she can start work earlier and then work later. At work, as far as I can tell, she is some highly competent person. The person I get at home, I could only describe as a constantly flummoxed woman-child who forgets to put gas in an empty gas tank and will hide bills in drawers because she doesn't want to think about them. These aren't even large bills that are stressful to pay. It'll be a $50 copay that I won't find out about until a letter from a collections company shows up. Bimbo isn't the right word because bimbo usually comes with a sexual connotation. And while she isn't asexual, she isn't far from it either. Once the workday or work week ends, she shuts down into shuffle mode and is always tired and or stressed. She procrastinates on every household chore she can until either I do it or it reaches some impossible to ignore critical mass. Even removing the aspects of an adult human relationship, she isn't even a very good co-worker in the running of household, Inc. because of how much of herself she gives to her job. Weekends roll around and all she can do is vegetate once we get the kids to their activities and back. She's like someone in hospice care until Monday morning, and she springs back to life with energy. Work gets your best you. That's the phrase I've used for years when we fight about it. At work, she's a boss bitch who crosses her T's and dots her I's. At home, I get obviously dirty dishes put away like they were clean if she bothers at all because she wasn't paying attention and I didn't tell her. No, you don't have to open the garage before starting the car. You won't instantly suffocate. You're 41, why are you asking me this? I would at least somewhat be able to mentally live with it if she was trying to get her own startup off the ground. Or it was her own business, like there was a payoff down the road. Or if she was curing cancer or preventing wars. Or if she was saving lives in some OR or ER. But it is none of those. She throws every ounce of herself at a middle management white-collar job in a field that if it disappeared tomorrow, the world would probably be a better and happier place overall. She doesn't even get an annual bonus. No corner office, they won't even comp her parking. All that work for no extra payoff aside from an atta-girl. And I think what I find the most contemptible is she loves it. She avoids using the bathroom on company time. She'll happily be on meetings from 7 a.m. on a Monday until 7 p.m. on a Friday. They could cut her pay in half, and while she'd balk and be mad for a bit, I honestly truly think she'd just go back at it with full gusto the very next week. Sometimes I feel like a spouse who knows they're getting cheated on, but can't immediately do anything about it. Honestly, an actual affair with another man I could at least wrap my head around. That's at least sex. Instead, it's just watching someone crawl over broken glass for a faceless organization that doesn't care about you as a person at the expense of everything else in your life. I fantasize about divorcing her and letting her live her best life with what's obviously her true love and passion. I won't be here to have the audacity to ask to be treated like a partner or a husband or fuck, like a man. I won't have to be the bad guy when I ask her to put her cell phone away when the family is eating dinner. Maybe I could meet someone who wants to actually be with me instead of viewing me like some kind of assistant co-worker. But that can't and won't happen for some time. Aside from the kids, I wish I had never married her. True off my chest. He slapped me to the ground. I started sleeping with this guy 35, who is a captain in the commercial airlines. I am pretty new to this kind of situation. I am 28 and only had 2 stable relationships, nothing casual. He actually was the pilot on my flight, and we had a huge delay in September. I don't usually see pilots around passengers in the airport, but it happened this time. We chatted, we flirted a bit. After the flight, we went for a coffee. He has flights here 4 times a month. I know he probably sees other women, but we are not in a relationship and use condoms. But his deal was that I don't sleep with other men. Yesterday we had a fight. He was very irritated after his flight. He divorced last spring and has conflicts with ex-wife over the visitation's rights for their 2-year-old son. And he insulted me. As immature as it may sound, I insulted him back. To which he slapped me. Just once, but it sent me flying to the ground. I am so shocked even now that I am shaking. It was also very immature of me, at my age, to see him as a superior man because he is a pilot. I always viewed these men as some gods, or at least not ordinary people, totally different from us, like maybe rock stars. Although my other female friends never shared my view, Tinder also showed me how mediocre most of them are. True off my chest. Phone addiction put me in the ER. I'm 20F on my phone literally all the damn time. And last night I got lasting physical consequences from it. My boyfriend stopped at a red light and we got rear-ended, hit and run. I was texting in the passenger's seat. Seatbelt on. And next thing I know, I have pain in my face and blood everywhere, all over his car, my clothes, which were his clothes, my face, my hands, his face, literally everywhere. I thought I was dying and had a panic attack. Witnesses called the ambulance because I was freaking out so bad. Turns out all that happened was my phone flew into my face and busted my lips open. I had to get stitches, all because of my phone. If I wasn't on my phone, I would have been perfectly fine. Literally no injuries at all, and instead I was in the emergency room all night. My dad, after seeing my face, literally was like, "That's because you're always on that phone like always," and this time he's right. This is literally because of my 12 hours a day screen time. Today I decided I'm putting the damn phone down. True off my chest. Rather upset with my wife. Well, my wife, my 2-year-old, and I had spent the majority in November and about half of December sick. All of us needed antibiotics. We finally kicked it totally after Christmas. So my cousins wanted to get together at one of those little playhouse places, basically, where toddlers can run around in those little indoor jungle gyms. And my cousins are historically bad at telling us when they and their kids are sick. Typically, the conversation goes, "Oh, he's just coughing, but other than that, he's fine." And you guessed it, they usually have something terrible. I told my wife, "Don't go. I'd like to spend more than a week healthy," but she still went, and lo and behold, now both she and my son are very, very sick. I don't like those places in the winter, they're germ factories. Not to mention, I don't understand why she would take our kid around obviously sick kids. Now my wife is 30 weeks pregnant, which is relevant because I only get a set amount of time off for the birth. I have been going to work where I work outside, which is miserable when sick. So I don't take any sick days to have more time at home with our soon-to-be baby girl. But now I have to burn days to take care of both of them, which I completely understand and am happy to do, and I'm sure I'm going to end up sick. Again, because of her obviously bad decision. I'm irritated with her. I know it's not a big deal, but I am finding it hard to find her choice as anything less than blatantly irresponsible. I haven't said anything to her about it, and I'm frustrated. Just needed to vent. Appreciate you guys. True off my chest. Fell in love with my wife like for the first time. Me and my wife are in our 40s and been married close to 20 years. I have loved my wife this whole time, but love does change from the early days, butterflies in stomach, to an everyday love. We have great sex life and I have nothing to complain. I just wanted to get this one thing off my chest because I think it's kind of weird for me, and probably not going to tell my wife this. She's embarrassed with herself enough. Therefore a throwaway account, though I don't think she reads Reddit. Nor does she watch the YouTube videos made from these, to where I don't think this will end up in, but just in case for the off chance for both. We have a tradition for weekends where we have a few drinks, watch some shows from Netflix and such, and go to sauna and have sex in or after the sauna basically every time. Usually we are from a bit to quite tipsy. This time my wife went a bit overboard with her drinking and was completely wasted, while I was still just a bit tipsy. This was the first time in close to 25 years we've known each other I saw her do that. She too hasn't seen me wasted before or since, though I have been. With her, I want all the relevant parts working as intended, so that's mostly why, and she will likely not see me ever. She managed to get herself to the shower, but by then was so wasted that she couldn't do much else than to keep throwing up, giggle, and kept apologizing while sitting down. Usually I'm very sensitive to throwing up, but not this time. Hopefully, needless to say, our tradition was cut short. Though while we were watching our shows, she was very handsy with me and herself. I helped her with the shower and tried to dry her in order to get her to bed. But she ended up passing out in the shower room floor, and I couldn't do much more than to cover her and keep an eye on her. I knew then with almost absolute certainty that what I said in our vows will hold pretty much no matter what. I also sort of fell in love with my wife again, like for the first time, and we've been having sex every night since, for which she is very happy about. I hope it is not just some sort of a weird kink that arose in me, but I keep thinking that night and get the butterflies. Not really horny or aroused, but makes me want to have sex with my wife later. But there's no way I want her to do that much drinking again. It's not healthy in any way, shape or form. True off my chest. My little brother isn't my little brother anymore. Like most people, the house my brother and I grew up in wasn't perfect. The place was crowded with 10 people. There was always someone screaming. Everything we did or said was wrong. Nobody took us seriously because we were kids, the whole package. It wasn't a great place exactly, but we were loved with tough love. Ha ha. I remember we'd spend as much time as possible at school because man, sometimes we hated home. Anyway, I used to be just like my family when I was little. A little jerk, and really mean to my little brother. A little bit less, but still shitty. And one very bad day we locked ourselves in a room and he told me he was relieved. Because he was with me, that I was his superhero. And that really stuck with me. I started being nicer to him and to everybody because to me, no superhero would be shitty, let alone being shitty with someone rooting for you. This happened when he was around 4 or 5 years old, and I don't think he remembers, but it's still in my mind most days. Anyway, years passed. We moved from that house. I left for HS, then for college. He started college as well. Now don't see each other a lot, and naturally we've changed. We're not super close now. We've had differences in the past, and now we barely talk. And today I was visiting and he's there helping my mother with cleaning and something fell under the bed and when we were kids, he'd look for the object to retrieve and I'd try to reach it. For some reason I said, "Hey, get down here." I don't know where it is. And he goes, "No way, I'm too big. I'll just move the bed." So now I'm just laying on the floor thinking, that's true. I've always been a slim guy. This is something I've always done. But you can't do it now because you're like, huge, you're twice my size. When this happened? I thought about that all day and got emotional thinking about when we were kids. Things we'd do for fun, cheering when we first rode a bicycle. Things like that, and I asked him for a hug. He hugged me and asked why I wanted to hug out of the blue. And I told him no particular reason, just that I remembered when we were little. He chuckled and said nothing else. IDK, I'm just amazed how time passes. To me, he's always going to be that little kid with boogers all over his face. But he's no longer that. It's nostalgic, really nice feeling. Really enjoyed that hug, might ask for another one. Jay, if you read this, it's not me, I got hacked. I think you're smelly and weird. True off my chest. I'm pregnant, but the problem is we break up my BF because he slapped me. I found out I was pregnant at a time when everything seemed to be falling apart. My boyfriend and I had been together for a while, but things had started to change. The love we once shared was turning into something darker. We argued more often, and it felt like no matter what I did, we couldn't make it work. Then one night, everything escalated. We had a fight, and in a moment of pure rage, he slapped me. I couldn't believe it. I'd never imagined something like that could happen, especially from someone I trusted so much. My heart was broken, and the shock of it all left me frozen for a moment. But then, the reality of the situation hit me. I couldn't stay in a relationship where I wasn't safe, even if I was carrying his child. I broke up with him that night. The decision wasn't easy, but it was necessary. I knew I needed to protect myself and my baby, even if it meant facing the future alone. It hurt more than I ever expected, and I spent countless nights crying, wondering how we ended up here. But as time went on, I started to focus on what was best for me and my baby. I didn't need someone who could hurt me physically, no matter the love we once shared. I found strength in myself that I never knew existed. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was determined to raise my child in a safe, loving environment, no matter what. True off my chest. They threw away your wind chimes today. Dear neighbor, they threw away your wind chimes today. The tinkling noises from your door made me look up in expectation to see you, but instead I watched as they were lifted from the hooks and thrown carelessly into a nearby dumpster. Littered in your lawn are pieces of your life, a long-abandoned treadmill, a broken-down washing machine, a PC tower from the 90s. Soon they too will join your wind chimes in the dumpster. I wonder if the table where we shared so many dinners will also be carted out, or if that was one of the few things that your family took before they sold it to a landlord. What about the pots and pans you used to cook me so many warm meals? Will they be thrown away too? When your family invited me to look through the house weeks ago to see if there was anything I'd like to take, I was so sad to see that your little collection of houseplants had died, abandoned when you passed. I had kind of thought they would live on beyond you, but I suppose that's what happens when there's no one left to nurture them. Every day I come home and there's a new piece of you on the curb. Every day a reminder that the home where once someone was able to stay and learn the neighborhood and watch, after everyone on the street, will now just become yet another rental. Will I be the one now that takes on the duties of knowing the names of everyone on our street? Will it be my job to make the Christmas cookies every year? Will I be the one to walk up and down the street with my old little doggies that waddle behind? I wonder if they'll replace the flooring where I used to pick you up when you fell. Warm brown hardwood replaced with grey vinyl planks. Everything white and pristine and without character to make sure that no one can call it home again, not for long anyway. Will they keep the tacky plastic ivy in the bathroom of which you were so proud? The remodel done by a friend of a friend that you adored so much, that you always pointed out whenever I visited. Will it be replaced or just repainted? In a few months, when the landlord is all done and he asks if I want to see the inside because he's so proud of his work, so proud of these quick remodels like he's done in 15 other properties in this neighborhood, will I still see you in those details? Do you think I'll keep my composure or I'll collapse into tears when I see the walking paths worn into the hardwood are gone? Then will I tell the tenants who move in about who used to live there? Or will I even learn their names? Will they come and be gone by the time the lease is up? Would they even introduce themselves to me? One by one, the houses on my street all are sold, bought, renovated, sold, rented. My house will join them one day, when I find something better, something bigger, something nicer. And I'm sure when we sell it, I'll remove everything that made it mine, renovate it, paint it white, make sure that someone else can imagine themselves living here, or purchase it as a good investment. The only reminder of me and you will be the rosebush in my front yard, the one you wanted me to be careful around when weeding, to be aware of the bee's nest. You had a careful eye like that. You knew what was going on in the yards of other people. The bees are gone, you are gone, I'll be gone, but the roses will remain. And that's something at least. True off my chest. People are so dumb. I work at a museum, and it's a full display of human stupidity. Adults letting their children run wild, scream, break things, climb on exhibits, etc. People ignoring very obvious signage, stating where things are located, stating that no food is allowed. We currently have an exhibit about a certain animal population and how it's cruel to keep them in captivity, and so many people expect us to have that animal in captivity in a museum, watching people parent in the most horrendous ways, being super mean to their kids, yelling at them in public, or swinging to the other side of the spectrum and letting their kids run wild with no boundaries. I'm not surprised necessarily, but it is absolutely crazy how in-your-face people can be, with how lacking they are in common sense and have no shame or insight.